Now, the danger of a full-scale war is rising by the hour. What began as a retaliatory strike by India in response to the Pahalgam terror attack as Operation Sindoor has now spiraled into what is effectively an undeclared war, marked by precision strikes, drone incursions and heavy artillery exchanges. Now, Pakistan has struck again for the second time in a span of less than 24 hours, and this time round the attack was much bigger. It has launched hundreds of drones and missiles towards different Indian installations. But the assaults were all intercepted and crushed by India's unyielding air defense shields. Now, Akash Tir systems roared to life, intercepting and vaporizing every incoming drone and missile from the Pakistani side. And according to the Indian government, not a single Pakistani drone or missile was able to strike a target. It's clearly a case of yet another Pakistani misadventure that is meeting India's air defense firepower. Now, the Indian Army's response to the Pakistani incursion with the missiles and drones was pretty swift. Videos being released this morning that show the Pakistani military posts across the line of control that have been obliterated in direct counter-strikes. The structures have been taken down, enemy bunkers have been reduced to rubble, and the Indian forces have delivered a message in no uncertain term that every act of aggression by Pakistan will be answered and every violation will be met with punitive action. On the intervening night of the 7th to the 8th of May, Pakistan launched hundreds of drones and missiles targeting at least 18 separate locations across the length of the India-Pakistan border. This included the states of Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, Rajasthan. And what were attempted to be struck were certain strategic installations in Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar and Ludhiana. And India's integrated air defense system, primarily the made in India Akash Tir surface-to-air missile defense system, effectively used by the Indian armed forces in foiling the Pakistani attacks towards Indian targets. Now, the Indian Defence Ministry has said that both the Indian Army and also the Air Force have the missile systems all along the Pakistani border. The Indian Ministry of Defence has said that so far no casualties or material losses have been accounted for, while assuring that India remains fully prepared and on guard to defend its sovereignty and also to ensure the safety and security of all Indian citizens. Now, India's answer has been very swift and surgical. Within hours of the Pakistani attack, the Indian armed forces retaliated, destroying certain air defense radar systems in Lahore. Now, this, of course, was a big blow. The key Pakistani city is now without that Chinese-given radar. Meanwhile, the Pakistani frustration has boiled over into what is effectively a huge amount of shelling along the line of control, targeting Indian civilians in places such as in Poonch, Kupwara and Baramulla. At least 17 Indian civilians have been killed in this indiscriminate shelling by Pakistan. More than 60 others have sustained serious injuries. The homes of the villagers living along the LOC have been destroyed as they were targeted by Pakistani military shelling. Now, India has, of course, responded proportionately, silencing the enemy guns and also restoring calm with unblinking resolve. Now, India's message is, of course, very clear. An act of aggression will be met with a response, but is Pakistan listening? Now, India's response, remember, has been focused, measured and, of course, devastating. The Indian air defense systems have changed the game. The Indian retaliation is no longer a promise, it's now a reality. The Pakistan's bid to escalate has been crushed, and the initiative is with India in terms of what is unfolding in this conflict. At a joint press briefing of the Ministry of External Affairs, Colonel Sophia Qureshi said that Pakistan had violated the Indian airspace several times over the western border. Listen to what was said.
राष्ट्रीय सीमा और नियंत्रण रेखा पर लेह से लेकर सर क्रीक तक 36 स्थानों पर 300 से 400 लगभग ड्रोनों का इस्तेमाल घुसपैठ का प्रयास करने के लिए किया गया। भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने काइनेटिक व नॉन काइनेटिक साधनों का उपयोग करके इनमें से कई ड्रोन्स को मार गिराया।
All right, now joining us on this broadcast, we've got WION's assistant editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sabal, who's joining us over the phone line. We've also got our special correspondent, Idris Lone, who's been tracking all developments as they've been unfolding in Jammu and Kashmir. Is joining us live from Srinagar. We also have on this broadcast retired Air Marshal Anil Khosla. He's the former Vice Chief of Air Staff, and he's also joining us live on this broadcast. Siddhant Sabal, let me in fact start off with you. You were there at the press briefing. Give us a sense of what, the Foreign Secretary there said. Are we now still on an escalatory spiral up, considering what happened yesterday night? Or is there a possibility that there could be some back-channel talks for some negotiations to try and bring down the temperature?
Well, the Indian Foreign Secretary detailed the developments of the last 12 hours and how Pakistani drones attacked India. Approximately 300 to 400 drones attacked India from Leh to Sir Creek in Gujarat. And focus, of course, was as to how India, of course, gave a strong response. All in all, the briefing was to basically counter the disinformation coming from Pakistan. And largely, the focus remained as to how Pakistan has been essentially targeting religious places and how these drones were Turkish drones. This is the first time India has publicly come out and said that these are Turkish drones. So significant conversations from the Foreign Secretary.
Absolutely, indeed, Siddhant. Do continue to stay on with this. Idris, if I can bring you in here. What we witnessed yesterday night is in many ways unprecedented. These were saturation drone swarm attacks that Pakistan, of course, carried out. Give us a sense of what the scene is like at this moment in the Kashmir Valley along the line of control. What is expected there?
Well, Saleh, we saw that there was a lot of panic last night all across Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the Jammu city where the main attack took place, where hundreds of drones were basically thrown at different installations across the city, but all of them were foiled and thwarted. But there was a lot of panic across Jammu and Kashmir after that. Today is also going to be a tense night for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, as they're expecting, they're hoping that there shouldn't be anything happening tonight, but there's a lot of fear, especially for the people who live close to the line of control and international border. There was ceasefire violation at two places even early morning today. One in Kupwara in North Kashmir and another one in Akhnur sector of Jammu, where not only the security installations were under attack from the Pakistani army, but also the civilian houses, properties, cars and even cattle was under attack. We've seen around 16 civilians have been killed so far in the Poonch district, whereas 60 people have been injured all across the line of control in northern part of Kashmir as well as in the Jammu division. So a lot of tension all across Jammu and Kashmir today, because last night was very, very filled with panic, because there was a blackout for at least 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours all across Jammu and Kashmir, and people were advised not to venture out of their homes, to stay in dark places and also prefer to stay in the ground floors. And people just hoping that there is no repetition of what happened yesterday in Jammu and Kashmir today as well.
Indeed, Idris, do continue to stay on with us. Let me in fact bring in Air Marshal Anil Khosla, who is also with us on this broadcast. Air Marshal, this is in many ways a very critical moment in terms of what is unfolding in this war. The government has now come out and said that at least about 300 to 400 Turkish drones were used by Pakistan yesterday night in that drone swarm attack that we witnessed. In your assessment, what is this in fact portent? We initially thought a lot of the weaponry that the Pakistanis were using was made in China, but a lot of made in Turkey weaponry is also being used by the Pakistanis.
Yeah, so as per the reports given, the figures are varying, between 300, 400 or 500. But the point is not the exact numbers, but the quantum, the degree of attack. I think after 1971, this is the first time such a large attack in a such large number and such a large spread over large spread. It's not only restricted to LOC now. IB and going down south up to Jaisalmer area, the desert area. So yeah, so the Chinese, Pakistan is known to have drones and unmanned systems from China as well as from Turkey. So although it is being reported that Turkish, maybe in some time it will become clearer what sort of drones did they use, what are the make, and also I believe there was a mix of drones which are armed as well as for reconnaissance. So the point is to ascertain, analyze what is the intentions of the Pakistanis.
Right. Now, day before yesterday, when the Pakistanis carried out their attack, they had struck about 15 different targets. But yesterday night, it was 36 urban population centers spread across Jammu, Kashmir, Rajasthan and Punjab is what the Pakistanis have tried to target. In your assessment, what is the Pakistani game plan here? Why is it that they are looking for what is clearly an escalation in terms of their attacks?
Yeah, so if you see, as you brought out, and I also said the scale of the operation was very, very high, and 36 places you mentioned. And not only that, even the escalation took place at the LOC in firing, which you brought out in your report, and it was not restricted to LOC even in the IB sector. So to my mind, there are three possibilities of this. And first one is, maybe after doing such a major thing, Pakistan Army is trying to show to their country that yes, we have taken appropriate action. We are also capable of repelling Indian attack, and now we are mature. We are stopping. That is one possibility. The second could be, it could be a probe to check what sort of preparation do we have, and what sort of air defense elements do we have for a future bigger conflict. The third possibility could be to really escalate the into full war scenario. And I hope the sense prevails, and it is the first one which I talked about, and not the second or the third option.
Interesting. And also, Air Marshal, the information is, of course, coming in that the indigenously manufactured Akash Tir air defense systems were what were widely used in taking down all of these Pakistani projectiles. Looking as to how secure the Indian border has been, despite the fact that there was such a huge incursion with the Pakistani missiles and drones, pretty much all of them were shot down. What is your assessment of the Akash Tir air defense system?
So, Indian Air Force and Indian Army and Navy, all the three services, defense forces, a lot of modernization is taking place considering the kind of threat scenario which exists around us. And especially in the last one decade, lots of capability building has happened. And secondly, the emphasis is totally on self-reliance because of the obvious lessons learned out of the pandemic and the two wars which have taken place, Russia-Ukraine and the Israel-Hamas. So the self-reliance is really taking up in India, and the Indian government has given a lot of impetus to it. And lots of platforms, weapons, equipment which are indigenous have been inducted into the forces. And it's glad to know that these are working well in this skirmish, and it's a acid test. They're being employed, and it's very heartening to see that they're working well and they're doing the job.
Absolutely, indeed. And do stay on with this. Let me bring in my colleague Idris Lone, who is joining us from Srinagar in the Kashmir Valley. Idris, give us a sense of what the mood is like, as dusk begins to fall this evening. What is the mood like there, and what is the administration telling the people in terms of the precautions that they need to exercise tonight, considering that Pakistan could still go on and carry out some kind of an attack even this evening?
Well, Saleh, there definitely is preparedness today, because yesterday it was out of the blue that the Jammu came under attack, and the panic was all over Jammu and Kashmir. But today people have been a little prepared because we didn't see a lot of movement on the streets since morning. Most of the people did stay indoors, and that's what we saw all through the day. There's a little traffic right now on the roads, but I think when it gets a little dark, people would prefer to stay indoors today as well. There is a lot of fear. All the schools, colleges, universities were completely shut for today as well. They'll be shut tomorrow as well, we've been told. and there is a lot of panic among the people, especially who live very close to the line of control. A lot of them have been already evacuated and asked to move, even from the bunkers that they have made closer to their houses. Security forces have made sure to take them out of those bunkers to the safer places. We did see in Baramulla, in Kupwara, as well as in places like Poonch, Rajouri, Akhnur, where people have been asked to basically take shelter in safer places which will not come under the, especially the ceasefire violations that have been continued from the Pakistani side from the last 14 days. On the other hand, Saleh, let me tell you that yesterday when the attack happened, it was not only the drone attack that was carried out on the Jammu city, but there were ceasefire violations at the same time at 4 different places by the Pakistan Army. And there was also a infiltration bid that was foiled by the border security forces at Samba international border, where BSF said that they have killed 7 intruders, infiltrators at the line of control. So it seemed like very planned. They wanted to engage the Indian armed forces at multiple places while they would carry that drone attack, but all of it was foiled by the security air defense system as well as the security forces posted all across line of control and international border.
Absolutely, indeed. We'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed, Idris Lone, and also to Air Marshal Khosla for joining us and getting us all those details and perspective there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.